What is up, beautiful people? It's Wolfbrother Mythos from Wolfbrother Hobbies, and welcome to the show tonight. Charles, it is good to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. So, tonight I just want a little bit of a chance to talk about the narrative I went to and what an amazing time it was. And I am thoroughly convinced at the moment. I mean, I've been to two of these narrative events, both run by the same two people, and both of them have just been a phenomenal time, and I'm convinced that narrative play like this is the best way to play 40k. It is just absolutely amazing. To give you an idea, I got creamed all weekend. I went 1-3 all weekend, but I still had an amazing time the entire time. And when I play with the narrative group, I mean, they're all just fantastic lads. Like it's all friendly feeling. I feel like every single one of them's a good guy. It's like I feel like the narrative group is the best group of guys that you can get a game within or even just hang, even if they're kicking your butt all weekend. They were a fantastic group of guys. I went with brother Atlas. Atlas and I both came out with the same score, so solidarity, right? But yeah, both of us had an excellent time. It was awesome, absolutely awesome. So, Charles, what have you been up to this weekend, my friend, or this week? I can show you some of my work, what I've got going on for a pork chop. I don't have my custody sitting over here with me, or at least the ones that I finished in time to take to the convention. But I did finish both Caladius grav tanks. One of them, admittedly, looks a little streakier and a little. I mean, it still looks good. It's just maybe the streak and grime came out just a touch streakier than I wanted because I was kind of rushing through this one. But I finished both Caladius grav tanks. I finished all three Terminators. I finished. Redid the swords on the Blade Champion. I did the 5 Sisters of Silence that were my little objective holders sitting in the back squad. Um, yeah, so I got pretty much everything I needed done for the tournament or for the narrative event. After that, though, I was like, this is going to be a hurrah to motivate me for my custodies. And I was thinking, you know what? This'll, maybe I'll get it out of my system. Getting in a full weekend of games with my custodies, and honestly, it didn't. It just made me want to play them even more. So, what I have here is I started on those other 5 bikes. I only ended up needing one for my 2,000 point list, which is the most I played all weekend. Because I just had a lone bike captain, zooming around, snatching objectives, or being little distraction carnifexes, to run into lone units on the objectives. So, uh, I mean, it worked out exactly what I wanted him for. So, yeah. So that being said, though, like I said, I got bit by the bug, and I have come back and I have started putting together more of my custodies. So last we chatted, guys, I wasn't happy with the flight stands that I printed out. Okay, so I wasn't happy with the really skinny flight stands that come with the kit because I don't feel like the very tiny point that they come with are good for mounting magnets. And then I wasn't happy with the ones I 3D printed. You guys remember it was bobbling around. It wasn't giving me the support that I wanted. And when I compared it to the first flight stand that I did for my bike captain, the bike captain had a squat, short peg in the middle directly below the center of, the balance point on the bike. And I was like, I think the magnet being just, nicely supported straight underneath the bike, I think that was something that made the difference. So I fished around in, believe it or not, my terrain bits box, and I had a bunch of Loctite glue lids that I'm sure will be fine once I prime them black and stuff like that. But I filled the lid with some green stuff and put my magnet at the top. Got it once it's set, got it all glued in, and wouldn't you know, seems to work just fine. And the wobbly problem that I had with the 3D printed flight stands doesn't seem to be a factor with this version. So, Yeah, no wobbly magnets unless I just really give it a shake. But I don't expect to be handling my models like that at the table. So, a vast improvement on that front. And then you can see, like I said, I had the bug, so when I came back from the convention, I got busy. I gilded up two more with Scale 75's Necro Gold. I have come to find I started painting my Custodian's army with blue first all over and then golding in the gold parts, but I'm finding it easier this go around with the last couple models I've done to gold first and then fill in with the blue. That's how I did the tanks, and I'm finding that that method is working better for all of them. It feels faster, more convenient, so that's what I'm doing now. So those I got done up, and I have primed the three other bikes, and I'm going to be golding them up too, and then I can just kind of batch out the last 5 bikes. And I will have 2 full squads and 2 captains that I can kind of shuffle around the board. So, yeah. I guess I could do 1 captain and then a squad of 2 and a squad of 3. I don't know. I kind of like doing just keeping the symmetry though going. A 3-man, a 3-man and a 3-man, captain and 2 bikes, captain and 2 bikes. So we'll see. But that is some progress I have done. In addition to that, one of the things I felt like, so this event and something that I've been, this event was only my 3rd time playing my Custodians. I've only played them 2 other times before, which is kind of why I wanted to use this event to motivate myself to finish painting Custodians. One of the things I really felt, the coolest, obviously, most people say that the dreadnoughts aren't very good for Custodians, but I like the way that they look. So, of course, I painted up 2 of them, and I have 1 more that still needs to be assembled. So I do plan on assembling that 3rd one and painting it up. But what I really felt on the board during this event was I just didn't have enough infantry. And when I really thought about my melee infantry, like I had the 1 squad of sisters and then 2 melee infantry squads, 1 squad of guard and 1 squad of wardens. And then in the final day, I adjusted my list a little around a little bit, and I ended up also having some Sagittarum. But they weren't melee. They've got their like heavy bolter equivalents. So what I was really feeling is that I needed another melee threat because my Custodians were good against several armies. They did. I think they held their own pretty well against World Eaters, and they held their obviously non-melee armies. Like they went into guard real well and were able to just throw down some squads and stuff like that. But one of the things I was really feeling is that having only 2 big melee threat squads wasn't enough. Now that was my only melee threat. Obviously, I had the Telemon, which is big and beefy, but can only throw 5 punches a turn. The Galatas really surprised me with 8 attacks, exploding 6s for extra attacks. And so the Galatas wiped out squads pretty well. I was really pleased with the Galatas. So I think for the moment, I want to replace the Telemon with just a little more infantry power. So I may have found a really good deal on some Custodian Guard on the eBays, and I may be looking at doing another set of guard, Custodian Guard, and looking around at what I was wanting to do with him. I think what I'd like to do is I have Valerian, I have Kyriadraxis, of course. I've got a Blade Champion. So I want to flex into the next spot with here I have the body. Obviously, it's just prime black, so it's not going to show fantastic detail. But I've got the body, and around here somewhere, I have the axe for Trajan Valoran. Or I 3D printed a face for it of Henry Cavill. I think having Henry Cavill's face as my Trajan is kind of cool. So I've got the regular face here, the regular bearded face here, and then I've got one that looks like it's been modeled to look like Henry Cavill. And I think having a Henry Cavill as my Trajan would be kind of awesome. So, I'd be calling him Cavill Valorian. So, yeah, I think Trajan leading that squad is going to be good. Also, though, when I was building my Wardens, your Wardens kit gives you the option to build one of them as a shield captain. So I also primed up a shield captain because I had built this a while back. But yeah, primed up a shield captain just in case, one day I don't have the points for Trajan or something like that. Or something Atlas pointed out, next year, when you go to the narrative event, you can only have one named hero. So let's say, next time, I would have to choose between taking my Valerian, my Kyria Draxus, or my Trajan Valorian. Well, I could still keep Kyria, and or let's say I pick, one of the others, but whoever I take out, I think having a generic shield captain I can slot in place of that character would be a good backup plan. So, though I have plenty of leaders for my Custodes already, I think having a backup of just a generic unnamed captain would be good. So, I've made some adjustments. Hellworks, what is up, my brother? Good to see you, my friend. What have you been up to? What's going on? How is your weekend? What you got for a poke chop? I was just telling the fam here that I thought I was playing Custodes and I'd get it out of my system for a little while, but instead I have reconfigured my flight stands. Check it out. I fixed the magnet problem. They're nice and secure now. And I've gilded 2, and I've got the other 3 primed and ready to go. So, bikes are on the table. We've got Trajan on the table with a 3D printed head that looks like Henry Cavill I printed up. And we've got a generic shield captain. So we got, plus I think they're at the front office right now. I've got 5 more custodian guards. So I've just I was like, I'm going to go to this event and get custodians out of my system, and instead I have just doubled down and I'm painting even more custodians. Playing some Diablo, very nice. The Space Wolves Army box drops next Saturday or Sunday. Have they already gone through the pre-order for that? Did I miss the news for that? Or is it the they go live for pre-order next Saturday? It usually is Saturdays. That'll be the pre-order. Ooh. I'm really excited about a lot of the Space Wolf stuff that's come up. I absolutely love that the new Logan Grimnar has pretty much the exact same pose and look as the big statue that they had on sale for like buku money like 6 months ago. Because I wanted the statue, obviously, but I just didn't have the cash for that kind of thing. But it's cool because you can get the same thing now in miniature form, Hey, my brother, the Miniatures Paintbrush. How are you doing, my brother? You guys make sure you're checking out the Miniatures Paintbrush, doing some absolutely phenomenal content for the Dark Angels and for the Space Wolves. You should see the chainsword he built up and painted a couple weeks ago on his video. That is so cool. Now we each have a chainsword, my brother. Although I didn't put in the hard work and make mine. I just bought it from a foam cosplay shop. Working on 85 Skaven at once. Goodness. That man definitely knows how to batch paint. 85 Skaven. Goodness, that is some work. I am too. In fact, I was just talking. I love, like, don't get me wrong. I, well, I love the new Logan Grimnar model. I love that it's the same pose and look aesthetically as the statue that they put out like 6 months ago. That's gonna, oh man, that just looks so amazing. That is like the number one new Space Wolves model that I want to get so far. So far. Something I wanted to bring up, fam. I told you guys a while ago that I attempted to follow a tutorial for the Space Wolves done by the Miniature Paintbrush and his recipe for Space Wolves. And I think they came out looking pretty good. And the Silver Moon Space Wolves have been my signature look for my Space Wolves for the last 10 years now. But kind of, I really like the way that mine came out trying to copy the recipe from the Miniatures Paintbrush. So part of me wants to take all this new Primaris stuff and give them the actual Space Wolves color from the recipe of TMP. What do you think, fam? Would I be turning my back on my past to give up my custom color scheme of the Silver Moon to paint Space Wolf colors? Or do you think I should just go for it and have my early army and then my new army painted the Space Wolf colors? Think it would cause too much of a divide in the army? I really like how they came out doing it TMP style. You know what? I don't think I've ever posted these to Instagram or anything. That is something I should remedy. Also, these are classic metal miniatures sent to me by Gamers with Coffee. So big shout out to them. But, oh man, okay, that's just catching my face here. But yeah, these are miniatures sent to me by TMP, by Gamers with Coffee, and then painted in the style of TMP. And while I'm not the best at following other people's tutorials, I think actually I'm really pleased with this effect. Different colors, different companies. That is a good point, my brother. Also, I have my Ragnar Blackmane that I never have finished because I tried to put them in a theme inspired by the original Space Wolves once, and I didn't like it. And I tried to put them in my Silver Moon colors once, and it didn't feel right because Ragnar's a very special character. Which is funny because I didn't have any problem painting up Logan Grimnar um, and oh my gosh, Aryak in my colors. I can put the king in the colors, but the young king, for some reason, it just didn't sit right with me. So, yeah, I think doing TMP's color scheme, do what makes you happy, brother. I think they look awesome. Thank you so much, my brother. I need to do a tutorial on Ragnar. I would be happy to see it, my brother. And yeah, I think I'm going to try and give Ragnar the old TMP treat. I need to paint my Ragnar kit bash. Nice. So, I don't know, guys. Do it. Variety can be good. Well, thank you very much, Charles. How are you, Charles? I hope you're having a good weekend. I hope all of you are having a good weekend. Speaking of weekend, I'm going to start rolling some pictures of the narrative event I was at and show you guys. I need to finish a lot of kit bashes and nail down my theme. Everybody loves your kit bashes, man, so we're looking forward to seeing those. Let's see. We're going to go to boop, articles and art. You can see I've got the very first table set up here. And we're going to start rolling slides. Dude, look at how beautiful this city fight table is. I really like the that light bluish green color that really kind of makes, you know, the regular like gray stone of the city pop. I don't know. I think it just looks real nice. Anyways, we're going to take a look at some of the tables first. Do you think Grimnar Slay is gone for? Okay, well now that was the thing. Okay, so I'm gonna come back real quick. That does concern me. So one of the things I've noticed is that Corsaro Khan had a firstborn model on a bike. Okay, and he's the master of the hunt, which makes him kind of a chapter master equivalent per se. He goes Primaris, they take his bike away from him. And the White Scars are a bike army. He goes Primaris, and they take his bike away from him. Okay, then you have Space Wolves, a wolf army. He goes Primaris, and it looks like his sleigh is gone. This is very concerning for me. You know, because his cavalry chariot, it's a Logan Grimnar thing. Now, I know his very first original model, which I do have here. Thank you to Grumpy Guy Gaming, which looks phenomenal because it is also painted by Grumpy Guy Gaming. I know his very first model was just a Terminator model, no cavalry. But it does concern me that it does look like they are taking away his cavalry chariot going into the Primaris age. I also have his chariot model, and it is magnetized to run him on foot or in the chariot. But it is concerning because it feels like, aside from Dante gets to stay the way he is, but aside from Dante, it seems like they're taking chapter masters, and if they had any high mobility options, taking it away from them, cutting their legs out from under them. That doesn't feel good. As someone who likes to play a speedy, aggressive melee army, that feels bad. It feels real bad. Like, oh, I've got my Corsaro Khan that can walk on foot behind the bike army. Okay. Well. And then, you know, now it's like Logan Grimnar, who can charge in with the cavalry, or he can walk behind them. It doesn't feel good. Like, yeah, he can still teleport in with his Terminators. You know, I got into Space Wolves for cavalry, and so it feels bad to lose that mobility option. Plus, there's like 2 less Thunderwolves in my army. I mean, it just feels bad, man. So, yes, I think it is gone forever. I'm just jumping immediately to assuming the worst, of course. Something I like to do. But it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. I've got 80 orcs with hammers and shields in 28mm. A box set of each a box set of 20. Whoa. I did in a different bright metallic color scheme for their armor. Nice. There are the Khonsmen and want the enemy to see them coming. Very cool. The Khan's Guard. Okay, that's awesome. Wolves are getting wolf companions back on the bright side. That's true. Ragnar lost his wolves, but Logan gets wolves not pulling his ride. Yeah, I mean, at least if he loses the chariot, he still gets to keep the wolves. That's pretty cool. Ragnar lost his wolf, but Logan gets his wolf not pulling his ride. Adepticon said 11 new kits. We've seen 9. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I just every loss of a Thunderwolf, I feel right here. So losing a Thunderwolf, chariot, it hurts, man. It hurts. Like I said, I got into this army specifically for Thunderwolves, so it doesn't feel good. All right, we're gonna go back to this handsome guy right here. What's the last two? I don't know. I'm hoping cavalry will be in there. This handsome guy standing next to this two-tier table is our team captain for the Imperium. Pretty cool guy. Did a great job captaining the team, I felt like. We need a new Bjorn. I feel like that's one of the last two because of the teaser they did at the very start of all the Space Wolf teasers with Bjorn popping into your room in the middle of the night. So I'm hoping it's Thunderwolf Cavalry and Bjorn. Bjorn was the very first teaser. I'm very confident in saying one of the last two is Bjorn. Ashley, good to see you guys. I was just talking about you guys, telling you how it was you, fine people over at Gamers with Coffee, that sent me these gorgeous classic metal vintage Space Wolf models, and how much I enjoyed painting them up. So this two-tier table was so much fun, and when we get to the details, I'll show you it a little more. But all of the tables for our event was so fun. I gotta say, we were kind of at the back against the bay windows, but like we were in the same open floor as the tournament. And it was so cool to see just like a bunch of tournament tables with regular, regulation L-shaped ruins as their terrain. And then you look over and we had, take this table for example. There's technically no real obstructing line of sight like ruins. So everything is pretty much can be shot on this table. It's all true line of sight with cover, of course. But how much cooler do these tables look than just your classic L shapes all over the table? These tables look incredible. This was the industrial sector. This wasn't one of our boards. This was a Mordheim board. You can see it split up into tiles. Fully modular. That was on raffle. I bought a couple of raffle tickets, but I didn't win anything. But I thought this would be really cool. Even though this is a Mordheim board, imagine putting down one of those pavement, industrial mats on a table and spreading these 9 tiles out over by, your classic 6x4 table and playing Warhammer on that in like a, what do they call them? One of those Imperial planets that haven't had like the Imperial technology come to them yet. Feudal planets. I thought that'd be a cool battle scene. Yeah, but this was a really cool raffle gift, or a raffle prize. This was my second table of opponents. You can see Brother Atlas in the middle. And then this fine gentleman in the hat was playing Chaos Knights. He had a very cool Knights army. And then this gentleman here had the brand new Emperor's Children army, complete with Fulgrim and Lucius the Eternal. And man, I have heard several people say that Emperor's Children are really tough, and at least 3 of my friends say they have yet to beat Emperor's Children in their local shop or whatever. And I gotta say, I can see why. Holy crap, they dealt so much damage. Especially their noise marines were absolutely brutal. I can't even remember the name of the squad that Lucius was escorting because uh, my opponent just kept calling them the F machine because whatever they got in combat with absolutely got effed right in the butthole. I mean, it was brutal, absolutely brutal. Um, but it was such a it definitely taught us some respect for the new Emperor's Children. Let me tell you. Um, you can see here. So this was an interesting kind of deployment called ambush. The mission was called ambush. Sounds like the guys I like. Yeah, I think I remember you saying something about being interested in Emperor's Children. They are pretty hardcore. Um, so this ambush mission started with one of the teams. This is a doubles match, by the way. One of the teams started in the middle. Well, they could pick either corner to corner deployment or ambush, being in the middle, and then the other team would have to deploy in two corners. Chaos Knights. The Chaos Knights army is really cool too. And of course, them being two close combat armies, they chose the middle deployment, and basically, you can see here, everything was like first turn charge range. Um, and so, yeah, between the shooting from the knights. Oh, I also came to appreciate the Valiant. I have always thought the Valiant was the cooler of the Dominus Knights. It's the one with the triple flamer and the harpoon. I have always heard that the other version with the big old plasma is better, but I've always liked this one better because of the big spear. That spear does so much damage. It's only one target, it's only one shot each turn. But basically, if it hits, it can point at something on the table within range. It's a short range shot, but it can point at it and say, I think it's 18 inches, but it can point at it and say that's gone. And it can even do it as devastating wounds, which is crazy. Can you imagine just 24 devastating wounds, no saves? I mean, it's absolutely crazy. But anyways, you can see it. We were at the front of our deployment zone. I had my wardens out here with the Blade Champion protecting Atlas's tanks. Didn't matter at all. Didn't matter at all. The harpoon speared right through one of the tanks. And then you got Lucius and the boys here. By the way, they are fast. They went straight from here. Boom. Ate my wardens in one go. And that was popping their 4+ feel no pain. They just deal so much damage. I mean, it was good. It was, and then of course we had two demon princes on their back line and Fulgrim first turn. All of that just right up in our faces. It was crazy. On the other side of the table, is this the same? Oh no, this is day 2. This is a part of the apocalypse battle. This isn't even our table. So yeah, so that this is all in a slideshow. The pictures aren't necessarily in order. I did walk around on day 2. We did 3 games the first day. Of like, player games, and everybody kind of rotates tables to play a different mission and different map on day 1. And on day 2, we did a big 3-fronted apocalypse game where there was the planet Petrix that we were fighting over, the moon base, and a ship orbiting the planet. And so this was the planet table. And you can see the guard and the space wolves all preparing to see. On the left here is like walls that they had to strike down to attack the chaos-held city. Kind of want to do Loyalist Night House, wolf theme. Not space wolves, just wolves. House Garmer? That's cool. Alright, back to the Emperor's Children and Chaos Knight game. Then 2 big old blobs of noise marines that, by the way, First turn, they just double shot into my guard squad and my Telemon Dreadnought and just absolutely blew them to smithereens right off the bat. It was, again, it was brutal. They're the firepower of Noise Marines, absolutely just incredible. Not to mention, you see those two big knights back there that was coming around. This is from game 3, and again, I know this is jumping around a lot. Game 3, we were facing off against World Eaters, and it was me and Atlas again. We were on the ship table, and it was World Eaters and Big Daddy Angron right here, and a whole bunch of orcs, and it was all infantry orcs. So there was like, I'm pretty sure, well over 100 bodies of orcs, and it was like, honestly, just the sheer numbers got to us. We had taken down pretty much the majority of the World Eaters by the end of the game, but there was just still a good 100 orcs on the table. There's just so many bodies. Of course, during the Apocalypse event, we had these narrative stratagems we could use, and one of them was to bring back a battle line squad. And so, like, even though we ended up taking out some orcs eventually, they just came right back. Oh, there's Big Daddy Angron and a big old demon prince here that halves damage. So, another impressive army. Here's another shot right as we're about to get beaten up. You can see right here, Lucius's squad has moved in for the kill on my wardens. The knight's taken place. And you can see this knight lining up that massive harpoon right for the daddy tank over there. So we lost most of our demon killing firepower in the first turn. My first game of the event was against Astra Militarum. Really, really great guy. I've played against the gentleman's name is Mike, who owns this Astra Militarum army. It's actually Chaos Guard, and he's such a fun guy to play against. Really, like, just positive personality. He's there for the fun, rolling some dice, hanging out. I mean, everybody I met was like really cool to hang out with. But definitely, Mike was an awesome opponent. And like I said, I've played against him 2 years in a row now. It's just always a fun time hanging out with him. And we're even now. He beat me last year. I beat him this year. So, we've got a 1-1. But you can see here he was running a double Baneblade list. This is the Melta version of the Baneblade. I don't know the exact Baneblade variation names. And this is the transport version with the Vulcan Mega Bolter. At the end of our Apocalypse game, day 2. Oh, that's all the way back at the beginning. Oh, didn't even see this one earlier. That was the moon base. At the end of the Apocalypse game, day 2, you're going to see some shots of one of the narrative event organizers. He was kind of our narrator doing the story for us, which was very cool. So the one of the people that runs this event often goes by Manager X, and this is his dad here, who is the person who runs the event with him. So I typically refer to him as Mr. X, to maintain the anonymousness, but he's a really good storyteller. The big old shot of the convention, you can see some of the tournament, tournament tables were there, and then we were kind of at the back. This is the moon table up during the Apocalypse game, and you can see a bunch of Necron terrain having popped up all over the moon. It turns out the moon was a Necron tomb planet where we had awakened some of the technology below the surface. And this big monolith here was a shard of a Catan. Tomb World, yes. And, oh, Atlas and I were playing on the ship during the Apocalypse game, so you kind of saw down below where Angron and the orcs were. Now, up at the top here, we could only have 500 points per side, so Chaos could have 500 points, and then, of course, Imperium could have 500 points. So there's 3 objectives up top, 3 objectives on the bottom floor, and basically whoever controlled more objectives at the end of their turn would have that many shots to put from the ship into either the planet surface or the moon surface each turn, which was kind of cool. And so we were controlling the the a couple of times that we held objectives, we ended up getting swarmed playing World Eaters and Orcs. But yeah, so a couple of times we got to fire some of the shipped planet weapons, which was pretty cool. There's also a space component where you're going to see some pictures of some Battlefleet Gothic stuff, and part of the story was that there was a Chaos fleet coming towards us, um, and we were taking out the planet destroyer that was with it. Here, this is the moon base where that was the Tomb World. The Imperium had a war, so had a Reaver Titan, I'm sorry, and a Warhound Titan aiding the Imperium this side. But then you're going to see on the planet side they had a whole ass a Warlord Titan on the planet side that was working with Chaos. So, oh man, it was crazy. Here we go. This, like I said, you can see some pieces have been removed here by the end, but this is where it was showing that the Battlefleet Gothic stuff was Okay, so the narrative stuff was affecting the Battlefleet Gothic stuff because that was, the ships, like, it was like the Chaos fleet coming to destroy the planet, but then also like Imperium forces coming for backup. It was all very cool. So this blue globe here was Petrix, the planet. There was the sun here, the moon base. Eventually, when Atlas and I lost the ship during the Apocalypse battle, Chaos ended up ramming the ship into the moon base where we were winning. Which set the Catan shard free. This I thought was a really cool thematic shot. This is again the Emperor's Children battle. And you can see my Custodian Guard squad here below. You can see the Chaos Knight in the background and the sheer firepower of two big squads of Noise Marines. And you just can see a close up of, the Death Corps overlooking the battle here. I thought that was a really good narrative shot. Oh, this was a cool one. The Chaos Knight Abomination. This was the psychic one that did things like force Battle Shock, and if you failed Battle Shock, the Knight would get buffs and bonuses. Plus, it had cool, some pretty cool psychic powers, and it had this Chaos tentacle lash here. Very cool. Apparently, its gun wasn't very good. They told us that it sucked. If I remember correctly, and I could just have a terrible memory, but I believe it took out one of my Caladius, and Kyria Drax's hero of the Imperium exited combat and ran past the knight, and then later on was able to shoot down a squad of Noise Marines, which was pretty cool. And I think the Caladius took off the last couple wounds on the Abomination. More shots of Custodes versus the um, Chaos Guard here. So we were at a catty corner deployment. This was one of the tables where there was no obstructing line of sight. And this melta cannon could absolutely delete things. Like I had the Galatis dreadnought over here on one of the objectives. Absolutely deleted it in one turn when he was holding the objective. My captain on a bike went over and held the objective took the objective another turn. He also got deleted. Um, so they just kept blasting things off. But thankfully, the Caladius has a good range on it, and so I just kind of backed the Caladius tanks into a corner, and it was able over the game. The Caladiuses were able to burn down both of the Bane Blades. Here we go. This was so before I showed you the planet side was the outside of the walls, and this is the inside of the walls. So they had to do X amount of damage to the walls to bring them down before the Imperium could come into the city. And you can see right here, it's a big boy Warlord Titan. Isn't that cool? And then on top of that, look, I mean, that's not the only thing, though. You have Emperor's Children right in the middle, ready to lay down some massive firepower. You got Stompas. I think there was a total of 3 Stompas that day. You got Stompas. You got, the some. I want. I'm pretty sure that's a kit bashed orc tank. The name is escaping me. But yeah, you got some. Just all kinds of stuff here. You got Demon Princes. You got Fulgrim. There was a lot of nasty stuff. So you had to really book it down the table to breach these walls. Then once you breach these walls, look at all of this just coming your way. Some incredible looking tables, though. It's kind of just showing. I think this was round 2 on the upstairs floor from the Chaos perspective. So we had some World Eater Berserkers up here. We had some Jackals. Look at that big boy Warlord Titan. It is so big. Look at that. I mean, it's coming. Oh man, it is almost shoulder to shoulder with this guy. Okay, not really, but I mean, look at it. It's so beefy. More fantastic storytelling. This is one of the shots Atlas took. I'm not sure what was being played over here. Another shot of the Mordheim board, and there were some really, really cool Mordheim boards. Here we go. Shot of Atlas's. Wait, no. No, this isn't Atlas's. I think this is. Is it? No. This is the planet side table again, and there's the city walls in the back from the Apocalypse game. Look at that. Just all of these Imperial forces just lined up, having a. Yeah, I mean, it's like in the stories where they had to, blast down the walls to make way into the city. That is me and Mike, the Chaos Guard player. I wanted to make a point of getting pictures with all of my opponents during the convention. They were all fantastic guys, really great people. The ship setup, so of course, they made little corridors here. Up top was a full boarding actions table, so it was literally like full on, no line of sight, blocking doors. You had to take an action to open doors, that kind of thing. Then There was a ship exterior. There was like a 1 foot lip on the other side of this table, so you actually could go on the outside of the ship, which was where Angron ended up going. Angron deep striked onto the outside of the ship and came in through this door. That we were running out of time, so I wish I'd stopped to take pictures. But I actually had my Sagittarium circled around the doorway, so that way the minute Angron came through, he'd be in base-to-base combat with my Sagittarium. And, so that way it would keep him from making charges. And then, so he, of course, he and the Meganob slaughtered my Sagittarium guard. But, like, after that, the Vanquisher and both Caladius tanks just poured firepower into him. So it was really cool having 3 objectives down here, in what was one of the storage decks of the ship, and then up here in the corridors of the ship having a boarding actions kind of mini game up here for 3 more objectives. I really thought that was a neat concept. Did you know, by the way, that typically only 60 mil bases can fit up top? Did you know that Gazgul could fit his big ass up there too? That surprised me. That was like, oh, I got me all surprised. But also, okay, so while that was a surprise to me, it was also kind of I had forgotten that Gazgul went down to toughness 6. So Atlas's Ogren were also toughness 6 and managed to hold the door against Gazgul for a couple of turns, which was cool. And then the World Eater Berserkers went around through a different door and, mowed down the Ogren. And so, that kept them from holding the door. But for a little while, the Ogren held out Gazgul Thraka, which was pretty cool. Some of the murder that was done here. You can see the Warden squads got wiped out. All the guard back here and the tanks got wiped out. It was brutal. This is some of the Battlefleet Gothic stuff of what was going on with the Imperium. So this big cruiser, day 1, the ship map was this Chaos cruiser here, and there were some supporting ships. Day 2, the Imperium fleet had landed, chased off this Chaos vessel, and this was the ship we were fighting on. This Imperial ship here on the far right was what we were fighting on the second day. What was here is called a black... Oh my gosh. What? Darklight Dreamer! I was just having a chat, a little bit of a chinwag about the convention I was at. How are you, Darklight, my brother? This man has been setting up some VR so that way I could come over to his place and play some Resident Evil 4 VR at his place. So I'm looking forward to that. This weekend we've got school stuff going on for Alira and her choir stuff. But I'm hoping next weekend, if it's okay with you, maybe I can get some time out there. I would really love to. Lots of VR games. That's awesome. You can see this big ship here. That is the Planet Destroyer ship. And as it makes its way through the system, several of these planets begin to disappear. So, it's pretty cool. An Ark of Omen, that's what it's called. It was an Ark of Omen. This is right when everything was about to make it in that combat, and in the Morgan Freeman voice, it was at that moment that we knew we had fucked up. I mean, like I said, the deployments were really small, so it's not like we really had anywhere to go. We never quite made it out of our deployment zones, but I mean, it was pretty rough being hemmed in turn 1. Again, I really feel like this picture really captures the feel of being able to play on 2 whole boards. Almost like Star Wars' 3D chess, which is really cool. And like the boarding actions mini game, like it's like a different style of field than down here, If I were to make a sword out of the wreckage of an Ark of Omen, Would that in turn be a Sword of Omen? It absolutely would. It absolutely would. Also, just like Mandalore's axe, anything made from the hull of a starship is supposed to be super powerful. Just my deployment against the Chaos Guard again. It could give me sight beyond sight. Or someone. Noise Marines after Curious Drax's shot. You can see she took out one of the squads. Minus the Blastmaster. Game 2 with me and this was the Apocalypse game. Me and Atlas, and then our Orc player and our World Eater player, who also plays Custody, so was able to give me some tips as we were playing. Apparently, the Lions of the Emperor detachment is what he's been using, and apparently it's very good right now. So here's where you can see day 2 we were on the Chaos ship, and this is where the Chaos and the World Eaters, along with the Orcs that they had hired, boarded our ship. And the Ark of Omen lining up. This was the beginning of the day 2 Apocalypse games. So the World Crusher here, the Ark of Omen, lining up shots to destroy the planet. And then just me kind of at the convention showing how busy and full of gaming life it was. More narrative storytelling, which was awesome. In the thick of it. Man, the Apocalypse tables look so crazy. I gotta say, I was really intimidated to play on this table. I'm kind of glad I ended up on the ship, although I wish I'd done a better job on the ship. The space-themed terrain is cool. Yeah, I freaking loved all the terrain. The tables, I think, just looked immaculate and really... When your tables look this good, it really, it really makes you, so enthused for playing. So much firepower. This was after Kyria had shot down one of the Noise Marine squads. But, I mean, so much DACA there coming from the Master Blaster that lived, plus the other squad of Noise Marines, plus this Crusader back here. Also, the Knight player, Thomas, I really like his Heat Bloom effect. My tables look this good. When you come over, you'll experience it firsthand. I'm looking forward to that, my brother. This was my team day 3. Me and this guy, he was playing Imperial Guard slash Imperial Agents. And these gents were our opponents. This was a tough battle. 2 Imperial Knights armies, 2 Valiants that were both characters with toughness 13, and they could -2 AP, which was just, holy crap. It was so difficult damaging them. So even hitting them with las cannons and blaze cannons, it was still only -1 on a 2-up save. So it was just, oh my god. Just so much fire. They just swallowed so much firepower. Alright, and we've come back to the beginning, it looks like. In case you're wondering how the event ended up, so you know that Atlas and I both personally went 1 and 3, which is not great, but like I said, we had a fantastic time. But we were on a team They swallowed that firepower hard. They did. They did. But like I said, we were both on Team Imperium, so it was more than about us personally. It was about the efforts of the team. And so, whereas, we were not amazing at what we had done, at least, the other parts of our team were able to pick us up when we fell down. Croom. No, not window capture. What am I doing? Chrome. All right. You guys let me know if I have the audio on this setup. I believe I do. Let me just go back and double check, though. Chrome. Okay, it looks like that audio should be working. All right, if this doesn't work the way I think it will, you guys let me know. But this is a two-parter.
The walls came down and they struggled, but they managed to take over the missile battery, the planetary defense system at the end of the day. On the ship, the Imperium was holding fairly well, but powers that be, foul shots from the planet, hit over here, killed critical elements, and the Imperial players on the ship, even though they were outmaneuvering everybody, too little, too late. The ship was taken over by the powers of chaos. However, the Imperial players managed to set some tasks, set some protocols in motion that the orcs and the world eaters, let's be honest, they can't figure out what day it is. So things started happening on the ship. And the brave Imperial players, the last of the custodes and the last of the guards, truly pure, managed to escape off the ship in a...
Okay, I just realized it's still focusing on the picture for... By the way, I apologize that the audio is busy. Of course, the convention floor, Okay. All right, let's try this again.
The walls came down.
Okay,
and they
there we
struggled,
go.
But they managed to take over the missile battery, the planetary defense system at the end of the day. On the ship, the Imperium was holding fairly well, but powers that be, foul shots from the planet, hit over here, killed critical elements, and the Imperial players on the ship, even though they were outmaneuvering everybody, too little, too late. The ship was taken over by the powers of chaos. However, the Imperial players managed to set some tasks, set some protocols in motion that the orcs and the world eaters, let's be honest, they can't figure out what day it is. So things started happening on the ship. And the brave Imperial players, the last of the custodes and the last of the guards, truly pure, managed to escape off the ship in a shuttle and escape into the warp. Kudos to the Imperial, the martyrs, the saints on the ship. On the moon! Woo! The generals of this, the foul Rictus, the noble Captain Greg, fighting on the moon, back and forth. Little did they know, this wasn't really a moon. This was a tomb world. But not any tomb world. This was actually a tomb prison for a Satan known as the Face of Death. So, Abaddon, not knowing what was going on, foul powers affecting him, sent the Ark of Omen, named the Face of Death, to release the Face of Death. They fought and they fought. The planet started falling apart. The moon started coming apart. Everybody's struggling. So where are we at the end of the day? At the end of the day, the Imperium managed to take over planetary missiles, fired those missiles at the Blade of Ruin. The Blade of Ruin wrecked. It's gone. However, Abaddon's goal was accomplished. The entire purpose of destroying Petrix was to make it one gigantic sacrifice to the foul gods. Therefore, in defiance, one last shot to make it bittersweet for Abaddon. The Blade of Ruins destroyed, 2 of the other ships are destroyed, and only one little shuttle escapes to get back to Abaddon. To make it bittersweet for Abaddon, the Blade of Ruins destroyed, 2 of the other ships are destroyed, and only one little shuttle escapes to get back to Abaddon. The planet sucked into the warp, and now there's a chaos rift here. However, the subsequent damage, and due to the noble efforts of the ship, the Dauntless crashes into the planet. The planet comes apart. The moon comes apart. And what happens now is the Satan, known as the Face of Death, is freed from his world. He's freed from his prison. So there's a warp rift. The Satan, the Face of Death, does not care. He goes. He eats the remaining souls that may have been alive on the ship.
No.
He devours the sun.
No. I need that to see.
Everything over here dies. So at the end, when it's all said and done, Petrix is sucked into the warp. The Satan, escaping his prison, devours the sun, destroying the entire solar system. This is a gigantic area of warp instability now. Chaos, Necrons, nobody can come here without risking of their lives. Petrix is no more. We have a few Imperials that have gone back to report. We have a few Chaos that have gone back to report. And there's a Satan Star God who is now free to run around and cause whatever mischief he may want. Congratulations.
It's a draw.
Was a draw.
Yes,
Defiance, one last shot to make it big.
So this is the second year in a row the Wardome narrative 40K event has ended in a draw. And Mr. X said, if this one, he said at the very beginning, if this one ends in a draw, although we've taken steps to make sure it will not be a draw, that this will be the end of Petrix and we're never coming back to Petrix. And we did it. It is a draw again. So the place has been nuked full of warp energy, and neither Chaos or the Imperium can access it now. So it ended in a draw. Oh man, that is funny. It is 2 years in a row the narrative event ended in a Imperium Chaos draw. So that's fun. But in the end, I mean, everybody ended up getting off the Necron's lawn for sure. They don't have a lawn anymore, but everybody ended up off of it. So I highly, highly, highly recommend next year around this time, usually it's in April, if anybody can make it to the Houston area, it's technically in New Caney, which is just outside of Houston, but if anybody can make it to the Houston area for Wardome, I honestly feel like Manager X and Mr. X put on the best way to play Warhammer 40K, which is in their narrative event. So, absolutely brilliant work, and it was so much fun. Like I said, I went 1-3. I got my butt kicked all weekend, but I had so much fun. So, it was absolutely awesome. I went against Chaos Guard, but then it was Emperor's Children and Knights, and then Knights and Knights. So both of those, I have the Caladius, but I just did not have the anti-tank firepower to deal with the Knights armies. Have a wonderful night, Ashley and Greg. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'll be wrapping up soon anyway, so appreciate your time, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. But yeah, I definitely didn't really feel like I had enough anti-tank, so that's something I'll definitely be looking at next year, is trying to make sure that I have something that can deal with knights. But then also, I in that third one in the ship, there was it felt like if I can swing it, I may attend. Oh, that would be amazing, my brother. That would be amazing. I know you've gone to the massive conventions. Hopefully, a smaller convention like this one will be enjoyable for you too. But it is. I think conventions are about who you spend it with. So, if you're hanging out with buds like this guy, I definitely think we can have an amazing time together. And like I said, just something about stepping back from what's competitive and strong and just hanging with good people and playing a narrative event is just so much more fun in my opinion. Maybe it's because I'm not a tournament person. I'm sure I would feel differently if the competitive scene was what I favored, but to me this is the best way to play 40k. And as long as Mr. X and Manager X are putting on these events, I will be in attendance. So just fantastic. And of course, like I said, it's all about who you play with. Big shout out to all the guys in the narrative event. Every single one of them was an awesome person to hang out with. And it's a shame. We had a much bigger crowd this year. Last year I think we had maybe a dozen players. This year we had more. We had like I want to say 18 players this year, so it expanded, and everybody seemed so cool. But of course, you're so focused on your game. Like obviously, I couldn't get around and meet and hang out with every single person. So, but everybody I did spend time with, they all seemed like really cool people, and I would happily hang out with them any other time. But that would be awesome, TMP. Oh man, if we could attend an event together, that'd be so cool. So, next week, guys, I will be talking more in depth about all the Space Wolf stuff. I just wanted to, while it was fresh on my mind and and whatnot, I wanted to talk about the narrative event. One more thing before I go, I do want to show you guys is I've never had any interest in Wardheim before. I've seen it in passing when other people talk about it, but I never really had an interest. But the tables at the Mordheim event this year, I definitely got to say, definitely had me feeling some interest. I'm not going to play the audio there because I don't want to cut in anyone's conversations, but just look how incredible these Mordheim boards are. And the majority of this is all handmade terrain. I don't know if there's any preset parts, but you can see most of the stuff is foam board, sticks, and the guy running the event made all of this terrain. The really cool, like, it's the terrain here has like a Bloodborne kind of vibe to it, or Soulsborne kind of vibe, like that kind of like deteriorated city. It's got that Soulsborne kind of vibe, and man, this would be some incredible terrain to play on. And of course, I showed you that modular Mordheim board that was up for raffle. I think all of these boards look amazing. So while I never really had an urge to look into Mordheim before, of course I like progressive RPG elements where you can level people up and you get that sense of progression, of building, the advancing the status of your team and whatnot. I like that kind of thing in video games, so I feel like this would be something I kind of would like. It's a small skirmish game, but just a board like this really gives you the hankering to play, I gotta say. It's so cool. So shout out to this phenomenal terrain maker here. You can see some pre-built parts, like I think that dais in the middle here is like from AOS and whatnot, but still, just the boards look incredible. All right, back to saying goodnight, Vita. So again, thank you for joining me as I relived how amazing this narrative event was. The Wardome in general was very fun. I can't speak for all of the other parts of Wardome. Like there was nice and clean, very well organized. There was no goodie bag this year. The first year we got a dice, we got like a metal challenge coin for the Wardome. We got a really cool acrylic battle shock token. There was no goodie bag this year, which was a shame. Um, but other than that, like they did a great job running the events from what I could see. They had a local restaurant on site doing like Italian subs and pizza, which was cool. And like I said, it was just everything was well organized, very clean. The entire convention was fun. Um, they had a variety of games for anybody that wanted to play, and it was all just very cool. So I highly recommend the Wardome. But specifically, what I can most especially speak to was the narrative event. So good, so good. Necromunda, you want to do it? Maybe, maybe. So I if I can convince myself to learn another system for it, I will dip. I may dip my foot in Necromunda. I more likely dip my foot in Necromunda than Kill Team. How about that? All right, guys. If TNP makes it out next year, I'll try as well. That's cool. That's super cool. Well, as soon as I have word of the official announcement for next year's Wardome, I will make sure to announce it and give everybody as much time as possible to make plans. Because, like I said, for me, the best way to play 40K is to go narrative. Thank you guys so much for joining me here tonight and reliving my experience playing at the Wardome. And just, sharing in my enjoyment for the game. Heck yeah, awesome. I'm glad I caught the show live this time. It's always cool to hang out. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Thank you, Darklight Dreamer, TMP, Gamers with Coffee, of course, Hellworks, all for chatting me up. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here from the beginning, Charles. Yeah, you guys, I really enjoy when you guys spend your weekend with me and, we can chat, hang out, and have a good time. If you guys liked tonight's episode, please make sure that you grab up an axe and smash that like button in the name of the Emperor. If you're watching from the archives, drop a comment down below and let me what you think of any of these ridiculous conversations. And if you are not yet part of the pack, please check out our Friends of the Wolfbrother Hobbies link tree below. And yeah, check out any of my friends that have channels. And if you guys are not subscribed here, please subscribe. Until next time, guys, stay frosty.